Hello, how are you? My name is Patrick. I'm a student social worker on the Children's Disability Network Team 4 here in Cashel, and I'm going to give a brief presentation today on benefits and entitlements that I hope will be very informative for you. Okay, so I'm just going to open up a presentation here. Okay, give me one moment. We're going to get the slideshow going. Just look a bit nicer. Okay, so starting off with an introduction. So the Department of Social Protection provides financial benefits to families to provide care to children with disabilities. Parents may be entitled to benefits and entitlements while caring for their child who has a disability. So as professionals like myself, working with families, it is important to be aware of this information so that we can assist parents like yourselves to access these benefits and entitlements in hopefully a timely and supportive way. So the first one we're looking at is the medical card. So medical cards are issued by the HSE and are means tested. The medical card entitles the person to free prescriptions, GP services, dental services, eye and ear tests, and hospital care. A card may be issued to a child in exceptional circumstances, regardless of the income of the family, if they satisfy the applicable criteria. So children who are eligible to receive the domiciliary care allowance are eligible to receive a medical card. So that's very important. And yeah, we'll be looking more on the domiciliary care allowance a bit later on. So how to apply? Application forms are available online at www.medicalcard.ie, and they can be completed and submitted then online, or you can print them out and send them by post manually. Okay. So next is the GP visit card. Now, if you do not qualify for a medical card, you may qualify for a GP visit card. Okay, the thresholds are that little bit higher. So this card entitles you to free GP visits. This is a means tested card. So, however, children under 6 years old are automatically entitled to this card, which is not means tested. So every child under 6. So in the budget 2023, it was announced that the income limit for the GP visit card will be increased to include people on or below the median income from April 2023. So that's like the middle income. And GP visit cards will be extended to children aged 6 and 7 by the end of 2022. Now you can apply for a GP visit card on www.medicalcard.ie. So same as medical card. Now next is the long-term illness card. Now if you have a medical condition covered by the long-term illness scheme, you can get free drugs, medicines, and medical and surgical appliances for the treatment of that condition. Now there's a list of conditions. It's a long list, and I'd recommend if you want some more information on that, I would signpost you to Citizens Advice Online. Okay, we'll give you the full list there of those conditions. Now, the long-term illness card is not means tested, and you may also be eligible even with a medical or GP visit card for this card also. Okay. Children with a diagnosed intellectual disability can qualify for the long-term illness card. Okay, so the name can be a little bit misleading, but yeah, so children with an intellectual disability can qualify. You can get an application form from your local health office, or you can download it online. Okay, and that'll be at Citizens Advice as well, the downloadable link. Okay, and a few other locations. So the next is the drugs payment scheme. Now, this scheme, under this scheme, you and your family only have to pay a maximum of €80 each month, okay, for approved prescribed drugs and medicines and certain appliances. Okay, so anything over €80 in total for you and your family can be covered. Okay, now if you have a medical card, you should have reduced prescription charges already, and so you are not eligible for the drug payment scheme. Now, to apply for this scheme, go to www.mydps.ie and you actually get a drug payment card, okay, that you can hand in the pharmacies, okay. Okay. Now, domiciliary care allowance is the next one. So this is a big one I had mentioned earlier. So if you have a child under 16 years who has been diagnosed with a severe disability, so that is likely to last for at least 1 year, and is living at home with you, so that's 5+ days per week, you may be eligible for the domiciliary care allowance. Now, half rate payments are made in respect of long-term hospital care slash respite care slash shared care arrangements, okay? So to qualify for this, the child must have a severe disability requiring substantially more care and supervision than would normally be expected for a child the same age. The claimant must be providing care to the child. Okay. Now, it is a monthly payment of €309.50 and can be made in respect of each child you care for who satisfies the above criteria. Now, the domiciliary care allowance, very importantly, is not means tested. Okay, so to apply, you fill in a domiciliary care allowance form. You can get an application form by going online to Citizens Advice or by texting Form DCA. Okay, so followed by your name and address to 51909. All right, or by dropping into your local NGO centre or social welfare branch or citizens advice service, okay, where you can drop in to get a hard copy. Okay. So bear with me. So the next is our CARER'S allowance. Okay, the CARER'S allowance is a long-term means-tested weekly payment for people who are looking after someone in need of full-time care. Okay, so to qualify, the person must need full-time care, so the person you're caring for, due to either age, physical/learning disability, illness, or mental illness, and does not ordinarily reside in residential care. As a carer, you must be over 18 years, and the person you are caring for must require full-time care and attention for at least 12 months. The rate varies dependent on a range of factors. Okay, now these are a broad range of factors. And to find out more about the rate that you might be entitled to, I would recommend going to Citizens Advice. Okay, to have a look at those factors and the corresponding rates. Now you can attend an educational or training course for a maximum of 15 hours per week and still get the CARER'S allowance. If a person is already in receipt of certain social welfare payments, then they may be eligible to receive half-rate CARER'S allowance. Okay, so that is like if you're on the one-parent family payments, you can still get, say, half CARER'S allowance. Okay, you can still be entitled to some. Now, families residing in local authority housing need to declare their receipt of such an allowance with their local authority to avoid rent arrears accruing. So that's very important. That basically CARER'S allowance is considered a form of income, so it does need to be declared to your local authority if you're living in local authority housing. Okay. Now, to apply for CARER'S allowance, you can fill in an application form for a CARER'S allowance online. Okay, there is a link in Citizens Advice. It's a very helpful service I've mentioned a few times. Now you can also get this form from your local NGO centre or social welfare branch office or Citizens Information Centre as well in a hard copy. Okay. So next one is the CARER'S benefit. Now the CARER'S benefit is kind of like the CARER'S allowance, but it's more short term. It's for insured people who leave employment to care for someone on a full-time basis. Now that's socially insured, okay? So if you have social insurance, like PRSI. So it is recommended that you apply at least 10 weeks before leaving employment, okay? Because of the length of time it can take to process, and you may be left at that middle ground where you're not receiving income from your job if you've left it, and yeah, maybe left without. So it is recommended that you go about it early before leaving your employment. So to qualify, you must have sufficient PRSI and tax contributions since entering employment and the date of claiming benefit. Okay, you must have been employed for at least 8 weeks out of the previous 26 weeks. CARER'S benefit will only be paid for a maximum total of 104 weeks. So to apply, fill in an application form for CARER'S benefit. Okay, now you can do this online through Citizens Advice, or you can get this form from your local NGO centre or social welfare branch office. Now, next is a very relevant benefit, which is the CARER'S Support Grant. So this is formerly known as the Respite Care Grant. Now, this payment is automatically made to anyone in receipt of CARER'S allowance, CARER'S benefit, or domiciliary care allowance. So it's automatic, you don't have to apply for it if you're already availing of those benefits or any one of those benefits. Now, if you are not getting any of those benefits, okay, if you did not meet the criteria, you are still entitled to apply for the grant separately, so long as you are providing full-time care for the person for a period of at least 6 months, including the month of June. Okay. Now, this is paid once a year. It's €1,850 at the moment. Now, that's subject to change. And usually it's paid in June, and the payment is exempt from tax, PRSI, and USC. So the grant is payable in respect of each cared for person so long as they meet the criteria for full-time care. You cannot work, engage in training/education for more than 18.5 hours per week outside of the home if you wish to claim the grant. Okay, so persons in receipt of job seekers allowance or job seekers benefit are not eligible to apply for this support. So next is CARER'S leave. So this kind of very much ties in with your rights, okay, with your legal rights in regard to caring for someone. So the CARER'S Leave Act 2001 allows for people who are in employment to take up to 104 weeks unpaid leave after 1 year continuous employment to care for someone full time. Okay, so that's your right to do that. That's your legal right set out by this act. And your job must be kept open for you during this period of leave, and you cannot be dismissed for availing of your statutory right. Okay, so that's very important. And as you can see, that very much ties in with the CARER'S benefit, okay, which provides the financial support for being able to leave your job for that amount of time. All right. So next one. So next is the primary medical certificate. So a primary medical certificate is a document that you can use to confirm you are severely and permanently physically disabled. Okay, you need one of these certificates to get a disabled parking card. Okay, and it can also be if you have a loved one or a dependent, like a child, of course, that has a severe physical disability. Yeah, you can apply for this as well in that regard. So you need to have extreme impairments to at least 2 of your limbs. Now, if you go online, Citizens Advice again, which has the official information, it will give a list of scenarios where this applies. But I do stress that, yeah, you have to have a really substantial physical impairment. Okay. Now, having this certificate allows access to disabled drivers and disabled passengers scheme, provides a range of tax reliefs linked to the purchase and use of specially constructed or adapted vehicles by drivers and passengers with a disability. You must apply to your local HSE centre for an application form for a primary medical certificate. Okay. Now, next is the incapacitated child tax credit. Okay, I think, yeah, it's not the most strength-based name for a benefit, I think. Now, parents or guardians of a child who is permanently incapacitated, either physically or mentally, may be eligible to apply for this tax credit. Now, the terminology, as I referred to, is, in our opinion, a hugely deterring factor for families seeking such a credit. Yeah, and yeah, families may need support around the same. Now, the current rate for this credit is €3,300. This credit can be claimed through revenue. You will need to get a certified form. So that's the ICC2 form from the child's medical practitioner, so possibly a GP or any other medical practitioner that they're involved in and are certified. Now, this tax credit may be claimed in relation to each child who is deemed to have incapacity and or persons over 18 years of age and unable to support themselves, and a parent slash guardian is supporting him or her financially. So it can be each child, and as I said, a person over 18 who's unable to support themselves and who is being supported financially by a parent or guardian. So PAYE and self-employed parents slash guardians are eligible to apply for this credit subject to the above criteria. Okay. Now, lastly is the disability allowance. So once a young person with a disability turns 16, he or she is entitled to apply for disability allowance. Okay, this is very much an independent benefit for the young person. So this is it's a means tested weekly allowance paid directly to the young person of €203. Now, in order to qualify for this allowance, the person must have an illness, disease, physical or mental disability that has continued or may be expected to continue for at least 1 year. As a result of this disability, the person is substantially restricted in undertaking work that would otherwise be suitable for their age, experience, and qualifications. When living at home, a parent slash carer's income is not taken into account when determining a young person's eligibility to receive this allowance. So that's what I mean when I meant, yeah, it's quite an independent benefit for the young person, as it just takes into account their personal means, not the means of their family. Okay, so that's it, guys. Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing there now. Bear with me. So I just want to say, yeah, thanks for your attention here and for listening. And yeah, I hope that it was a helpful presentation and that you may have picked up some little nuggets of information that you didn't know before that can be a support and a help, in in anything that you need it for. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, goodbye.